Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. It's Maverick here today with another episode of Isekai Meikyuu de Harem. So last episode, we got a little bit more acquainted with Roxanne, right? And not just on the bed as well. So anyways, we are diving a little bit more into the Meikyuu, the Labyrinth aspect of this anime. I mean, literally, the reason why I shortened this anime into Isekai Meikyuu de Harem is because that's literally like the major points of this particular work, right? So we are going to be spending a lot of time in the Labyrinth from now on. And in fact, like, where did we last leave? Oh, I believe we're just about to fight our first floor boss, right? Which, of course, it's always, the first time, it's always kind of exciting and whatnot. I mean, obviously, to me, I'm not going into this blind, right? But, I actually can't quite remember what happened for the first boss. So, let's just get into it and see how exactly they are going to show off their abilities. More specifically, let's put an eye on Roxanne. Alright, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Again, a very game-like setting, right? Like, whoever created this world definitely... Well, actually, I don't know, right? Because I don't think we really got into this sort of, like, meta discussion in terms of, like, who created this world, why is Misho in this world, and all that kind of stuff. Yokoso! I mean, from a more pragmatic perspective, sure, right? Like, if you're not gonna take it, somebody else is gonna take it, so you might as well take it. Right, I'm trying to remember, like, how exactly this fight went. Um, yeah, I'm pretty sure Roxanne pulls off some pretty slick moves and all that. I mean, last episode we didn't really see too much of it yet, even though clearly they already spoiled it in the opening, like her movements and all that. I don't. Yeah, like I said, they already kind of show like Roxanne's fighting ability from here. Although, like, I never mentioned it before, but every time I watch like Roxanne doing like a 360 spin like after she lands, it always cracks me up. I don't know why. It's just so unnecessary. Odd wood. Rush. I don't quite remember that one. Okay, that was kind of like anticlimactic, but oh, herbalist. Because she picked up an herb. The job system of this world, man. This is also like a really weird, I guess you could say, aspect of this world as well. Like they're really particular in terms of how they do their incantations. And I guess in a certain way, like you could say that for this world, they're not there's no actual tuning bills, right? There's no tunies because they have to recite those spells when casting a spell. And now we start with all the experiments. Yeah. Got bitch slapped. Spell interruption. Incantation interruption. Congratulations. Oh, that's a lot of medicine. From one single. Well, that like different status effects. That's kind of to be expected, to be honest. Yeah. So basically, I do find it quite funny how this is the method that the author chose to explain this. Right. Basically, the concept of selling higher or buying lower depends on if the other party is good at math or not. So the better you are at math, the more you can be affected by it. I do find it kind of interesting that the author went out of their way to actually explain this, but I mean, it's just kind of funny to me. Yeah, that does look pretty disgusting. That doesn't really make sense. Two caterpies. Nope. And of course, we got an attack that's like quite cliche, right? You know what? They are actually doing going through the entire story like step by step. Like a little bit different from like what I was expecting when we went through the first one or two episodes. Oh, actually, this is... Okay, okay, I remember. There's actually an important thing that's gonna happen here. It all comes back to that, eh? In other words, he's got the firepower. And that's the important thing. Yeah, yeah, guys have to admit, Alan is actually quite accommodating, right? We can. I don't think. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be finished in this episode. And back to bed. uh, it's just a damn kiss. There's no reason to censor an effing kiss. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna be looking at the end of it for this episode. Yeah, all things considered, Alan has this already under wraps. Although props to the anime though, they are actually I like that I like that sort of ending there with the gradually increasing like beep, if you will. I think, you know, definitely this is a lower budget anime and all that and all that. We can see that from the combat animations and so on and so forth. But that was actually quite a nice touch there at the end and that transition. All right, I'll see you guys after this. Alright, so another episode of Isekai Meikyuu de Harem has gone on, and in this episode we kinda sorta learned a little bit more about the Labyrinth in general, right? We learned about the boss fights, what you can expect within it, and of course, most importantly, we are advancing one more floor into the Labyrinth, where we get some more stronger enemies, more diversified enemies, and of course better loot as well, as to be expected, right? I don't think there's too much to add on for this part though. Like the boss fight was, I guess, in many aspects kind of underwhelming. Now that I think about it, probably the reason why I wasn't able to remember anything about the first floor boss fight was probably because it was underwhelming, and so I just kind of like forgot about it, right? It's definitely, we're not. Though I think a good thing to come out of this, if we are looking at the world systems and whatnot, we learned the existence of the monsters using spells and using their various status effects, as well as various countermeasures and so on and so forth. Although, like, to be honest, I feel like that's kind of a given in a lot of sense. Like caterpillars having some sort of slowing attack or paralyzing attack kind of is a common trope in a lot of games, right? So they went through all of this, making it into sort of like a gamification aspect. I really feel like most gamers probably would have known that there was this kind of possibility within the game. Although to be fair, considering this is such a low level, maybe people aren't really expecting various status effects and elements, in such a low level place. That could also be a possibility, right? Because that's also what happens a lot in RPGs and MMORPGs as well. So the same archetype of monsters, their lower level version might not really have any additional skills or whatnot, rather than just a basic attack. However, as you go further along, the same sort of monster with might increase in level, and that would be when they start using different moves. Kind of like Pokemon, right? So, for instance, a Caterpie, when he's only like level 2 or 3, only knows tackle and maybe string shot, right? And then as you level up, you learn more and more moves, that kind of a situation here. But yeah, we still haven't really gotten into the nitty gritty of things, but at the very least, we are breaking up the monotony a little bit. Whereas in the past, we were only fighting against these tree-like creatures. At least we are having some diversity, right? And that will continue to increase as time goes on within the Labyrinth. Beyond, and again, I feel like these few episodes, the anime has been quite faithful to the original work. I don't quite recall them skipping anything. Like, at most, and this part I'm still unsure, like whether or not we at this point have a little bit more information about Roxanne as well, because I feel like they didn't really focus too much on her combat capabilities, her dodging capabilities, and so on and so forth. Really just mentioning it in passing, and sure, Michio looks kind of sort of impressed, but that's basically it, right? But again, I don't quite remember if we were supposed to be covering that already at this point, or that's something that's going to happen later on, and we are actually doing a pretty decent job in terms of moving the story along and not overtly rushing things at this point. At least for me, I can't really see or recall any specific or significant missing parts to the story. And speaking of story, I bet you guys didn't expect us to go back into this particular bandit storyline, right? Indeed, we are not finished with this little subplot here. We started out in the village and had this run-in with the bandits attacking the village. It was also the catalyst towards Michio getting to know the slave trade as well. It was also the catalyst of him earning his first real fortune in order to afford Roxanne. And now, we still have this particular sub-story going on. There's something about these bandits, right, that is just so closely related to Michio and whatnot. I'm not gonna spoil like what happens in the end, because obviously even though I've seen it before, I don't really want to go through spoilers, and there is an important thing that's going to happen in the next episode in regards to this particular like bandit problem, if you will. I'll talk about it once we get there. Again, no spoilers. The only thing I really want to comment on, all things considered, is that I don't know. I feel like to me, this is more like a meta sort of complaint, if you will. It's not particular to the anime. I thought the same thing while I was reading the light novels and web novels and manga as well, and which is, I feel like the entire situation is kind of peculiar in a way. Like, Alan clearly has things under wraps, right? And asking Michio proposing himself to be a bodyguard and Alan accepting that and employing him, I don't know. It just, that transaction just seems so weird to me. Like, Alan, you don't even know, like, Michio, like, what his level is, what his talents are, what his skills are, and you're just hiring, and heck, you don't even really know his background, and you are hiring him as a bodyguard, especially when you also have so many combat slaves as well at your disposal. I don't know, I feel like that this is a particular aspect that wasn't really thought out that much. I guess you could also say that with this, we can be more certain that Alan is actually on the side of Michio, right? And they are going to be working closely together in the future as well. I mean, you can kind of make the argument for that point, but while I was reading this for the first time, I was also like, this is kind of like a weird development. I didn't expect Alan to agree to this so easily, if you will, especially since originally he wasn't even quite he wasn't even really quite all that concerned with what Michio was telling him, right? So, I don't know, the entire dynamic of this particular situation and how he got into it and the end result, I honestly feel like could have been a lot better, but hey, this is also the author's kind of like, the author in their initial stage was kind of like experimenting along, right? There's actually a huge, maybe not huge, but there is quite a significant improvement between the web novel and light novel, if I were to say, for this work. The addition of having like an editor or whatnot to really go through the story and work out some kinks and whatnot really helped the story along. But as you can see here, there are still some rough things, some rough edges that aren't quite, don't really quite make good sense or a good flow of the story, but we'll just have to accept it and move on and say, that's what it is. Let's just get into the actual situation and see what is the outcome of the situation, right? Which is going to be, like I said, an important one. But we will be looking at that in the next episode. So yeah, actually, at this moment in time, right, with the way that they are structuring this so far, and with this current pacing, you know, I actually think we are not going to be seeing the next girl for at least 2 more episodes, question mark, something like that, or at least until, yeah, next episode, and then the one after that, at the very earliest. There is some, you know, they are taking their time here, and we also still have a lot of stuff to do in the Labyrinth as well. We still, speaking of which, we haven't even gotten to the house yet. Yeah, they're still okay. That kind of, I guess that kind of counts as a spoiler, but not really. I mean, they can't live in an inn indefinitely, right? So obviously, they need to find some way to secure more permanent lodgings, more permanent residency. Yeah, we haven't even got to that part yet. So, yep, I think they are kind of like slowly adapting it along, which I guess really kind of makes sense that they want to display all the girls in the opening, just to make sure that people can keep their interest as to what's going to happen in the future. Because I said this at the very beginning, right? The offer, you know, this particular work, some people, like a lot of people's biggest complaints with it is that it spends a lot of time kind of like fooling around and not really advancing any sort of main storyline or main plot, right? It's just the way it is, and also the way that Michio is portrayed is he's very cautious, he's very safe in the things that he does. He always plans for a lot of contingencies and whatnot. He's not the kind of aggressive guy who acts on impulse, right? He thinks things through, like sometimes, like maybe not necessarily, you know, it's completely like thinking things through, but at the very least he does take his time and tries to cover all of his bases and whatnot, and so that just all consolidates into a storyline that's kind of slow moving at times. Like, as much as I love this series, I do have to admit that it is kind of slow moving at times, and so that being taken here into the anime as well could be good, could be bad. It depends on how you're looking at the series, right? But you know, just a heads up for you guys as well, in case any of you are watching this blind. So anyways, that is it for this episode. Thank you guys. I'll see you guys next time. Stay tuned and bye bye.